Hi everybody, welcome to Six Figure Speaking 101. I'm Fran Harris. Six Figure Speaking 101 webinar is a proven system for creating substantial income even if you've never been paid to speak. Congratulations on taking the next step towards creating a 6, 7, 8 figure and beyond income from your speaking career. A couple of quick things we need to get out of the way before we get going on this high energy, high octane seminar. The information contained in this presentation is proprietary and may not be copied, reproduced, videotaped, audio taped, or otherwise duplicated without the express written permission of Fran Harris or her assigns. This is a 2008 copyright, Fran Harris Enterprises, LLC. All right, so we got that out of the way. Let's get into what the Six Figure Speaking 101 webinar is all about. Before we get into it, I think it's really important that we take a look at where this business started from and ultimately where it's going. It's an exciting time to be a speaker. It's a very, very, very exciting time to be a speaker if you're approaching this business in the right way. And yes, there is a right way and then there is a wrong way to approach this business if you want to have longevity in this industry. So let's talk about this being one of the oldest professions on the planet. For as long as many of us can remember, there have always been great speakers, great orators in our past who moved people to new levels. They moved nations and companies to new levels. We're talking about our leaders, our activists, political figures, clergy, social entrepreneurs, business and thought leaders. Our country pretty much has been built on the leadership of people who have been great speakers. If you think about it, the presidents we've chosen, for the most part, have been great speakers. It's a profession that is noble. It's a profession that is respected, and it's a profession that will continue to boom and grow over the next centuries. No question about it. So let's think of why people speak. Let's talk about why people speak. This is really important for us to start here. A lot of people say, yeah, let's get into how I make a lot of money. But if you don't start with the motivation for why you do what you do and why people before you have done what they've done, then you run into some issues later on. So I always like to start every kind of seminar that I do with asking people why they do what they do. So why do people speak? We know that people speak to inspire. We know that people speak to ignite an audience. We know that people speak to motivate folks to get into action. That's what political activists do and social entrepreneurs do. We know that people speak simply to entertain. There's no right or wrong reason for why people speak or why you want to speak. But I do want you to ask yourself a very important question. Why do I speak? Or if you're not already a speaker, why do I want to speak? Is it to inspire people? Is it to get people into action? Is it to ignite a certain response? Is it to motivate my audience? And is it just purely to entertain? Why do you speak? Now, my speaking career began many years ago with 2 words. For those of you who grew up in cultures where church was a big part of your daily existence, or at least weekly existence, then you probably heard speakers all the time. So my speaking career began in church with 2 words. It was my first speech, and I believe it was an Easter program. So if you grew up in a church environment, then, or a Baptist church environment, I should say, you know that there are programs all the time. There are always tons of programs for you to get on. So this is my first speech. Jesus wept. And when I did that, I was 6 or 7 years old. When I did that first speech, that first on stage as an orator, I got, rousing applause, standing ovation. People were just, wow. This baby is going places. This baby is going to be a professional speaker. I don't know how they knew all that from just 2 words, but that's how I got started in the speaking profession. And of course, as a 6 or 7-year-old, I had no idea that you could become a speaker. But now that I think about it, and I'm sure as I thought about it when I was even younger, that's exactly part of what my minister, my pastor, got paid to do. He got paid to stand before us every Sunday and Wednesday and Sunday night and Tuesday in Bible class to basically speak, to impart a message. So that's how I got started. From there, I continued to do programs at church. I continued to get involved in different programs at church. And I don't know, as I said earlier, that I thought you could make a living as a speaker. All I knew is that it felt very at home for me to be on stage. It felt very much at home for me to be on stage. It felt very natural, and I enjoyed speaking. I enjoyed talking. I learned to read when I was 3 years old, so I enjoyed the language a lot, and perhaps that's why speaking has always been a real natural fit for me, because I love words. I love expression. So when I got to junior high school and started to become more popular, I was a good student, which meant that I got opportunities to do things within the school environment that were just phenomenal, like be on program, because I was always getting recognized for things. So when you get recognized, of course, you have to have an acceptance speech. So I was building my speaking chops. I was flexing my speaking muscles even at 9, 10, 11 years old, because that's what happened. Those were the situations that I was thrust into. In junior high school, I remember being, not only was I in the spelling bee, of course, which put me on stage, but because I made like the A honor roll or something like that, I got on stage and I got to be in a program. And I remember delivering a speech and how excited the audience got as a result of that speech. And I was like, wow, this is really very cool. This is really cool. That year, my 7th or 8th grade year, I can't remember which it was. It's really all a blur, but I just remember being in junior high school. That year, I was asked to speak somewhere, and when I got done, the coordinator came over and handed me a check for $500. And I said, what is this for? And they said, well, you spoke at this event, and so we wanted to give you a little something. So I opened it up right there on the spot, because I was a kid. I didn't know. So I just kind of opened it up right there on the spot, and it was $500. And I was like, whoa, $500? I'd never seen that much money, of course. My mom had taken my money from the snow cone stand at 9 years old. I just knew how much we made because we got a chance to count it, and I was tallying it. But I'd never seen that much money in one check written to me. Wow. So that's when the seed started to be planted about how much money you can make as a speaker, and that people actually did do this for a living. And if you think about when you were in junior high school, they always brought some person in to speak to allegedly motivate the kids, inspire the kids. And your principal, that's exactly what he or she did. So from junior high school, I went on to high school, and of course became more academically inclined, and was the president of my class, and just a lot of different things, National Honor Society, which meant that I got more opportunities to be on stage and to speak. And I'll never forget, I was going to participate in an oratorical contest. This is very important. I want you to chime into this. This is very important. I was going to participate in an oratorical contest, and I remember doing my speech, and then I remember this guy, I cannot think of his name. I think his last name was Washington. And I remember us kind of practicing for what we were going to do. And he was one of those guys who, even at maybe in the 9th grade, 10th grade or whatever, I think he was in the 10th grade, he was already, I don't think he was impersonating, he just sounded a lot like Dr. Martin Luther King. But maybe he was impersonating because he sounded eerily like him. And I remember watching him speak, and then honestly comparing myself, thinking, wow, I'm really moved. I'm really excited by him speaking. And I'm just kind of like, I got good information, but I'm kind of boring. I'm just kind of giving people the information. And it was really funny to see someone who had so much passion and so much fire when they spoke, and then look at the rest of us, because there were like 4 or 5 others of us who were just kind of reading our speech or just kind of going through some points. It was night and day. And that oratorical contest taught me a lot about how to succeed as a speaker, taught me a whole lot about how to succeed as a speaker, because it's not just enough, honestly, to give people information. It really isn't. It's not enough just to give people information. What's also important is that you ignite your audience. What's also important is that your audience connects with you, not just from a knowledge standpoint or an information standpoint, but on an emotional level. When I heard this guy speak in high school,